Lesson 5, Presidential Elections. Today we will be discussing the road to the White House, how the White House is won. First, I want to draw your attention to this opening slide. I want to define for you a couple terms, one being president-elect and the other being incumbent president. In the 2008 election, the current office holder, or incumbent president, was George W. Bush. The president-elect was, here, Barack Obama. That is because it was the period of time between the November election, when Barack Obama won the popular vote, and the swearing in of office of Barack Obama in January. Now, let's talk about what happens as one person campaigns to become President of the United States. We will break it down in a timeline that will be easy for you to understand, and you follow along in your notes. Use your chart and fill in what exactly happens between the fall of 14 and January of 16, which is our current time period. Now, during this time period, people, men and women, begin announcing that they are running for president. We call this declared candidates. That is, they have said, I'm running. During this time also, people begin to campaign, organize a campaign to run, raising money. Some candidates may declare and then within a year or maybe even less, like 6 months, may go ahead and drop out of the race. So you see people come and go. Now, the man I have cut and paste here at the bottom of the slide is Willie Carter, who's 71, and has declared that he will be a Democratic presidential candidate in 2016. You can easily search the internet and look for people who have declared and just possibilities that maybe others think they might run or they might entertain this idea. Now, next February of 2016, a couple things happen. Right before the start of the really big campaigning and conventions, and that is the Iowa caucus and the New Hampshire primary. Basically what these are, the caucus is kind of like a meeting or a place where party members can go and vote for delegates that they would like to send to the national convention. If you do well as a candidate in the Iowa caucus, which is the first one in the country, usually in January or February, gives you a good idea as to how well you're going to do in the election. It's your first test drive, if you will, of your campaign and your platform and your popularity. And so following this caucus, you might have people actually drop out because maybe they didn't do very well. Campaigning is very expensive and fundraising is difficult, and if you're not doing very well and you're at the bottom of the board, you might just go ahead and throw in the towel. Now, the New Hampshire primary is kind of the same thing. Primary is a little election in which you will send delegates to the convention, and so it kind of does the same thing. And again, a good dipstick test, if you will, of how well candidates are going to do and how popular they are. Now, from about March 16 to June of 2016, they begin to campaign pretty hard. National conventions have not happened quite yet in March, of course. And the candidates, tend to dwindle down. They are beginning to narrow it down so that each political party just has one, the major ones being Democrat and Republican, although we do have many other minor and third parties that we will discuss when we talk about political parties in a different unit. And during this time, too, we'll have state and district conventions in which these members will be chosen and sent on to the national convention so that the Democrats will kind of give one person their stamp of approval, the person that they think will do the best in the election and win the White House, and Republicans will do the same. So here we've got, the famous campaigning signs that you see all over This picture here is not much difference here between the baby and George W. Bush here. It's why I chose it. I thought it was kind of comical that they're kind of almost making the same face. The video clip that you see here we'll watch together, but we're going to talk about what group of constituents Obama targeted in this video clip. Please don't watch. We'll watch it together in class. Now, July 16 to September 16, the presidential candidates will announce their running mate. Each party will hold their national convention where each state will have one vote, and then nominations are made official. Now, late September of 2016 till the day before the election, you have lots of campaigning. It's the last hard drive before the election, lots of money raised, and then the debates. And so here we have again another clip about the top 4 defining moments of presidential debates, and we're going to look at this together. So again, I'm going to ask that you not look at it until we have a chance to do so in class. Now, Election Day is always the first Tuesday following the first Monday in November. All registered voters will cast one ballot. Actually, we'll talk a lot about the reality of the Electoral College and who exactly you're voting for, the difference between the popular vote and the electoral vote, which we know as the double election system. And here's how kind of it works. We have that election in November, which is the popular vote, followed in December by the electoral vote, in which the state electors will go to the state capitol and cast their ballots that they kind of promise to vote for whoever their area, their district votes for. And then it's sent on to Washington, D.C. Now, how many exactly electoral votes do we have is determined by the number of the members in the House, which would be 435, plus the number of senators, 2 per state, which makes 100. We get 3 electoral votes for Washington, D.C., even though they are not represented in the House and the Senate, which adds up to 538 electoral votes. Now, 270 are needed to win the actual White House. In early January, this is when the president of the Senate, which happens to be the vice president, opens up the ballots in front of a joint session of both House and Senate. And the candidate receiving 270 electoral votes wins the office of the presidency. Now, the last part of the trip to the White House is in January 2017 with the oath of office, where the president is sworn into office on the Capitol stairs at noon, according to the 6th article of the Constitution. Again, wait to view these video clips so that we can look at them together in class. We'll look at Obama taking the oath of office, and then here the picture you've got Johnson being sworn in aboard Air Force One following Kennedy's assassination, and Jackie Kennedy standing next to him. Very historic day in our United States history. That concludes Lesson 5, Presidential Elections. Thanks for listening.